Let's continue on our quest with the Bankroll challenge at 2NL Zoom on Pokerstars. I have fired up 2 games, just starting now. So I'm on course, hopefully, to make $10 because I want to see how quickly I can actually make $10 at these stakes. And along the way, I'm going to talk you through all my decisions. And so far, 7 deuce offsuit is definitely a fold to a raise. So I'm not going to spend too much time telling you which hands I fold unless they are hands where I would expect you not to fold. For example, this one here, Jack 10 offsuit in the small blind, definitely not a call if someone raises anywhere, especially under the gun for 3 big blinds, will definitely be a snap fold. So same here, Jack 10 off in the small blind, definitely a fold. Even if it means that we're not playing many hands, that's fine. That's actually pretty good at these stakes because the rake is quite high and we do not want to play too many hands. Pocket threes, we could 3-bet, but I prefer to just fold in this case. And yeah, you'll see me fold a lot, like you usually do, and you might wonder what the point of all that is, but as I said, the rake is incredibly high at these stakes, and therefore I prefer to fold a lot. I am going to raise 5-6 suited. I have actually raised it in this case just because that is my one suited connector that I like to raise from any position. I don't normally play a lot of suited connectors, as you might know if you're a regular on this channel, but sometimes I think it is good to have a little bit of a suited connector in your range just for board coverage. Here, this is another example. Pocket sixes in the small blind. Definitely a fold. So sorry, sometimes I will have to mute myself for a couple of seconds because I had pneumonia and I'm still struggling a little bit with a cough. So here I 3-bet ace queen offsuit. I am actually going to check this one back. It's not a great board for my hand or for my range. And he now bets quite big, suggesting that he might have something. I mean, he could just be bluffing, but I think I'm just going to fold. And this might look nitty to you, but I think I have better hands to continue with there. And maybe that's not even the point, but what I think is that he just made it, oops, I'm making it a bit big now. He just made it so big there. If he had gone for less than half pot, I would have called in position with ace queen off there. But on that wet board, I just didn't think that was great. Here on the left table, I'm going to 3-bet this one simply because he only made it to 2x. I would otherwise have possibly just called, and I'm going to c-bet this one, c-bet range on both of these boards, and we're getting folds on both boards. That's a nice thing at 2NL. Not much messing about. If they don't have anything, they will tend to fold quite quickly, and we can pick up a nice little pot there. Actually, 2 nice little pots because I 3-bet in on both tables, and I got my c-bets through on both tables. 9-7 off here. I will just open them there here on the right. That's a bit loose, however, I do think that's fine. And I'm going to do something that is not really in any GTO book, and that is a range bet, because I think that they would overfold a lot to that. And because now the 6 paired, I could go either way, I'm just going to check. The problem is now I do not have much, but because he checks, that's actually good news. I might still lose to a queen or a weak ace, but I'm going to check now because I have 9s, and yeah, he had 2 pairs there with the queen and the 9. So that's why I did not want to put any more money into this pot. And the thing is, like, normally you don't range bet ace, queen, x boards. if you're in position on the button against the big blind, you would either go with something like an overbet, or you would... this one's interesting. What are we gonna do with this guy? Let me just raise this one up and isolate him. So you would either overbet or you would check, but I think range bets are hard to play against, and I think we can get called by a lot there, or we can get some folds. So here, starting with check, that is just my way of dealing with it. Unfortunately, this is not a good turn card. We do not have top pair anymore. However, now we have two pair, and I think we can get a lot of value from an ace. I'm going to go with an overbet. And here on the right, unfortunately we didn't get called. Here on the right, I check called with ace high and a gut shot. And he now bets really small. This is quite weird. I don't really know what to make of this. This could be something good, but I am going to check raise this guy. He might be inducing, he might be trapping me there. However, I do think that I had quite a bit of fold equity there. Now the problem is, because I didn't actually think this one through. I will have to check, because oh yeah, he had ace 9. Okay, so that's why. The problem was that flush didn't come in, and I was just worried that he would just look me up there. Now we're firing a second barrel here with our queen high flush draw, and we get it through. Ace 9 off, under the gun, definitely a fold. 3-4 suited when someone raises to 13, not a very good continue. We have a limper and a second limper. Okay, let's see a flop with our 9-4 off. We completely whiff the flop, and we're folding. And here, this is quite interesting on this table. Jack 7 off, even though it's such a small raise, especially in a multi-way pot, I do not want to be involved there. And I'm here on this table. I will just check it down, and most likely lose. I would be amazed if we win this one at showdown with our 9 high. Now, of course, we're losing to Queen Jack. Fair enough. We are getting called by 3 players. We have whiffed the flop completely, so I will have to just give up. Nothing I can do. Sorry, had to mute myself there again. This cough is making me struggle a little bit, but no rest for the wicked. I'm going to c-bet this board small, king 7-6. I'm happy if I fold out to overcards, which is not the case. Now I don't think I need to bet again. And we'll see what he does on this river. He checks, and at this point, I mean, it is very thin to go for value. Could get a 7 to call. I think I am going to go for a half pot bet, and we're checking, and he had pocket 9s. Okay, so I value on myself a little bit there. So I said it was a very thin bet that I made, but I still think I'm okay with that one. And here they called me with ace jack when I had ace 4, so all good there. Didn't put any additional money into the pot once I missed. Queen 3 off will be a fold. Here ace 5 off is also a fold after someone raises. Pocket 3s. I mean, I can call. It's not an amazing spot to call there, but because we have a recreational player in the big blind as well, I just thought that it would be good. Definitely no point in donking here against 3 players with a weak pair. I would consider doing with a hand like 5x. And now with the 9, not great news either. I'm just checking this one down pretty much. Well, unless we flop, we river a set, or even a boat that is, and we're gonna go with the overbet here because one of the three players is likely to have something to look us up with, but unfortunately it's not the case. And here, ace high on the left table in a limp pot, I will just check this one down. I don't really want to go for a bet there. Plus, I have ace high. I have some showdown value. Admittedly, it's not amazing, but it is something. And look at this. I think no, we got slow rolled there. I thought we were gonna win that one, but it did not happen. Okay, let's try again with ace 4 suited. This time I'm making it 2.5x, and we're just getting the folds. King 8 suited, I'm gonna open it. This is the bottom of my opening range against this guy who seems to have a lot of money, at least that's what he claims, and some gold bars. And here, the 7-8, I could go for a 3-bet, but this guy doesn't start with a full stack, so I prefer to just go with a call. Here, this guy with all the money, he raised us, but he min-clicked it. I am going to just go for a 3-bet, for a 4-bet, sorry, and we are just folding our 8 high on the left table. Unfortunately here we're getting called by the player that I didn't want to get called by. However, now on this board, although we completely whiffed, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a fairly small bet, about 5th pot, so that we keep in pretty much his entire preflop range, and if he folds at this point, that would also be great. Now, I think we have to have a change of plans. I was planning to go with a barrel, but since we now picked up a pair, we beat all his pocket pairs that didn't boat up. So that's why we can just check back that turn. And the problem is now when he bets pot for 42.5 big blinds on this river, we have a bluff catcher at this point, so we need to be good 1 out of 3 times, and this guy is a very passive player. If you see 38 VPips, 5 PFR, he could still be bluffing here, absolutely, but I just think he has a big hand. I just need to fold this one, because I only beat pure bluffs, and I just don't really think that he has a lot of bluffs, and therefore this is a fold. Here on the left table, we're going to start with a small bet on this flop, and we only have the 10 of spades, but we have a gut shot, so I am going to go a bit bigger now. King 10, definitely not folding on the right. Sadly, we don't improve, and he makes it quite big. We have to fold, and unfortunately, we also have to fold on the left table because we cannot beat anything with our 10-9 with just one spade. You're not going very well at the moment, but still early days. Still can still improve, and winning. Getting a walk with 9 high is pretty nice. I'm going to open the 5-4 suited on the button, and we're winning with 5 high. Excellent. Yeah, so let me know, have you ever tried a challenge, a bankroll challenge like this one? And if so, how did it go? Here, ace 10 off. I don't really want to squeeze against a short stack who raise to 3 big blinds, so I'm going to fold. But I think it's not the worst idea ever to go there with a 3-bet squeeze. We're raising jacks, we're getting called by the small blind, and we're flopping top set. I think this is one where I will go small, actually. Get called very quickly. Now 9-10 gets there, but I don't really care. I'm going to overbet this one. And unfortunately he folds. Didn't have much, but I expected him to maybe still put in another call, even though he didn't get the odds for it. But I thought maybe he could get a good call again with a hand that's just a draw. Here, unfortunately, the flush card comes on this turn, but I'm pretty certain that we have the best hand with two pair. And so I'm going to overbet this one, because I think he would have bet a lot of flushes on the flop. That's normally what tends to happen with players. They're not disciplined enough. Yeah, he's asking me if I'm making a video. I am. Yeah, I am. I am. And he called, and unfortunately this is a pretty bad river for me. At this point I will have to see what I can do, but I still think I can get a tiny bit of value. I'm going, actually this was probably a little bit too big, and we're getting the rocket there, and he folds. Well, we didn't need that. We definitely didn't want that river, so I would have definitely preferred to not have that one, but we can't choose. But I think I made it a bit too big there. I should have gone more like a quarter pot max. Here, ace king, obviously we're 3-betting that one. And we're waiting to see what the opponent does. He calls. Gonna go with the usual range bet in this situation. And range bet means with your entire range, so ace king is also a part of that range bet. And we're getting raised now, which is quite weird. He shouldn't have a lot of 4s and 5s, but also he maybe, yeah, he shouldn't do this with a lot of kings. So maybe he has ace king as well. Definitely going to call, and now, I mean, the flush gets there, which is not ideal. He goes for half pot. I mean, especially because we have the ace of hearts. I am definitely going to call. Just the question is, should we shove at this point to get him off potentially an ace king? Because I'm never going to fold here, so I am just going to get all my money in. And okay, he did have, wow, okay. That is unfortunate. He did have the flush draw, so he check raised with the flush draw, and he got instant service there. So the reason why let me just explain this. The reason why I decided to shove was because I wasn't gonna fold to a river jam, although maybe I should have in this nitty pool, but my thinking was he could have ace king as well, that he's just playing like this because he can't fold either, and then I would have a chance of folding out his ace king at this point, although it's unlikely, but there was a chance. And if he did call with ace king, then I would have had the free roll to the nut flush. And also there was a chance that he did do that with king queen maybe, or king jack, and I could have gotten him to call with that hand. If I only call there, then I basically have to fold the river, and that's what I didn't want to do. But yeah, I'm not sure now, but I don't want to be results oriented, so obviously knowing the hand that he had, this wasn't the greatest decision that I've ever made, but I'm actually okay with it, I think, and it was quite close what to do there. Okay, we're getting 3-bet here by this player in the small blind, and definitely going to put in the 4-bet with a hand like king queen offsuit. If we get 5-bet jammed, obviously we're folding. We're not. The ace high board is not amazing for us, but it's not terrible either. Definitely going to range bet this one. And he calls, and we can go with another one. Just going a little bit over third pot, because I do think that we're getting him to fold a lot of hands. Well, not the one that he has. Didn't get that one to fold, but I think that he would fold hands like maybe queens, jacks, tens. But then again, we block kings and queens here, so I think he has a lot of good hands. So unfortunately, not going very well. Neither is it going well on this table. So, okay, I could do with some momentum, but I haven't really had any cards yet. So, they're just like the only time we hit was with the ace king when we got stacked by the flush draw. So, not that much to write home about. But that's the problem with this nitty player pool. You just have to be careful not to get it in. And I sometimes overestimate these players. I played a lot of 25NL in the last few days, and the players there are just the tiny bit more happy to get it in a bit lighter, or just they're just not as nitty. So I checked back the flop here because I wanted to take my equity. Now I am going to go for a raise with my trip sevens, because we can get called by a king, by a nine, and by a flush draw. The problem is now that the flush has come in, it's a bit trickier, but he might still not believe me. I can still go for value. This is a bet fold. And here I'm going to c-bet on the right table. So he checked very quickly. He checked the moment he saw this river. So I just don't think he has a flush. But the thing is, once he does that, I said I was going to bet fold, and I am going to bet fold now. Unfortunately, don't know if he's the type of player who would just do this as a bluff, but most players, especially at 2NL, are not capable of that, so I think I am okay with that. But yeah, it is not going well, for sure. We are getting the wrong end of the stick pretty much in every pot, and now that we have aces, I just think everyone will fold. Exactly, that is the usual way how it goes. That's also a way of running bad, but not going to complain. We are just grinding it out here and hoping for some better spots to come. They might never come. We might be waiting for nothing, but I'm not going to give up. We are going to continue to try to make good decisions, because that is what poker is all about. There we go. And on this board, I'm going to range bet quite small, about a quarter pot, and we get it through. Here I'm going to start with a check, as I would do out of position, because most players tend to overstab. This player did not overstab. I am still going to check again, giving him another opportunity, because I don't think I can get two big bets out of him. If he checks now, I will go for a big bet on the river depending on the card, but he doesn't check, so I am going to just call this one, and here I'm going to fold. So the river is basically a blank. Yes, 9-7 gets there, or Jack 9, but I mean, yeah, he could have Jack 9 to be fair. But he didn't bet there, and now against this half pot bet, this is a clear call. We're getting good odds, 3-1. I'm definitely calling this one. I'm only waiting because I want to explain this. So players will overstab. We did not filter their range at all, so that's why I am very happy to call there with my top pair. And sorry if I slow rolled him. That was not my intention. My intention, or nit rolled him rather. I was certain that I would call there, because this was exactly the pattern. And just be careful about that pattern. Not be careful, but just pay attention when I explain it, because this is such a good one. When you don't filter an opponent's range, And this, by filtering, I mean if you bet and they have to call post flop, then that is a filter. But if they don't, like they have their entire range they called the pre-flop raise with, and then they just don't know what to do with all their bluffs. Especially, I gave this guy enough rope that he just bet the turn and then bet the river. And especially if they only bet something like half pot, there is no way, no reason to fold there if you have any sort of a decent hand. Here, if he bets, well, I was gonna say I was going to check raise, but not if he overbets it. This is just a fold with my hand. Can't do much there. Ace deuce off would be a raise. Normally it's not on the button, but if we see this guy 9 and this guy 7 VPip, I would definitely have opened, but unfortunately the cutoff had a similar idea. And here ace 8-6 suited is a really nice call, but unfortunately this board is not great, and when he c-bets we have to fold. Yes, we have a backdoor, but it's just really not a good draw, and I have to fold. Here on the left, I am going to c-bet this one, as I would do most of the time in position, even though this board is not like amazing for my hand. And with a 6 pairing, I'm not super happy about that. I am going to 3-bet on the right with ace-8 suited. This is a bit loose maybe, but I'm still going to do it. And going to check back here, and now going to range bet, even though in GTO terms I would bet this one big or check, but I'm just going to range bet at these stakes. I don't think players will play well enough. And what are we doing here on the right, on the left table? I am going to bet this one, but just because I'm hoping to get king high or ace high to fold. I don't think I can ever get a pair to fold. So this one is kind of a thin one, but I do still think that overall we get enough folds. But again, we're getting check raised on this river. And this is an aggressive player, but with queen high there is not that much I can do. So I unfortunately have to fold once again. But I'm still confident that it's fine. Bet folding is something that you need to have in your arsenal when you play low stakes, because you have to go for thin value, and when you do get raised, you basically know that you are beat. And yes, it's possible that I'm getting exploited here by players who watch my stream sometimes, but I would like to take that and say that it's quite unlikely. And here we have this player limping, so he's getting the non-crusher tag. On the right, I would normally call with king deuce suited, but not if he makes it 3.5x, so that's another thing. I keep saying you have to be very price sensitive, so don't just mindlessly call with hands where you think that they are good hands. And this guy just didn't bet. I am going to go for a bet. Here we are going to check, and we got it through on the left. I'm going to check with second pair, and the ace is not great for my hand. It is not bad for my range, but don't want to bet this one for sure. And when he checks again, I'm quite confident that I have the best hand, but on the other hand, there is not much I can get value from. So I will check and just hope that he checks it down and we win. And actually we chop because he also has a 7 and the kicker doesn't play. Okay, I would like to win a nice pot. Here this guy is a limper. Because he's short stacked, I'm just not gonna bother. We can open jack 10 suited, folding jack 4 off, and we don't get any action here. 10-8 suited, too early to open. Okay, king 9 off. This will be a hand I will continue. Jack 4 off again, not calling it. I am going to 3-bet this one. 9-7 suited. This guy is quite loose. I'm not going to open. Yeah, so we're getting 4-bet. We're really, I don't know, are we getting exploited or is it just really bad luck that every time I try to do anything basically I'm getting either 3-bet or 4-bet or check raised. So really not running good with these sort of things. And the one time I had aces, it was pretty much the only time when I had a hand pre-flop, except for the jacks. But with the aces, I just lost. So starting with a check there, and we have king high, we have an open-ended straight draw, and we have a flush draw. So I'm happy to bet this one, to overbet it even, and we do get the call for a change. The fold, sorry, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Okay, queen jack and jack 10, both the offsuit variant under the gun, are definitely folds. Yeah, not many good hands to do something with. I wish I could have something sometimes. But yeah, not complaining. We're just continuing. We had a good run actually. Here, ace-9 off, just about too weak to go for the 3-bet, definitely not calling. Ace-king off, okay, that's a hand we can open. Let's see. 5-4 off, I'm not going to continue. We're getting a call from by the small blind. It's probably not the best crusher. If he cold calls a cutoff bet in the small blind. And now the big blind is tanking. If he squeezes, I will put in the 4-bet, probably even jam. But come on, guys. Okay, here, ace-3 off, I'm not going to do much. I am going to c-bet this one. Not doing much here, and we're getting it through. So, had he made it 3x, the ace-3 would have been a call. So again, price sensitivity, he made it 4x, not going to call. Queen 10 off, this will be a defend to a normal raise. Well, he makes it 3x, but I still think this is just about a defend. But it's not a big problem if you just fold this hand to a 3x raise. Him goes half pot. We do not have much going for us, but neither does he. So I am going to check raise this one. We're getting 3-bet here, and so we're getting it through. I am going to fold king 9 suited. I could have gone for the 4-bet against a fairly aggressive player, but chose not to do so on this occasion. 8-7 off, not a hand I want to continue with either. Ace-9 off, also not a hand I can raise from under the gun. Okay, pocket aces, that could be a nice one. I mean, it is a nice one, but let's see. King 5 suited, going to open it here. We're obviously going to 3-bet. I am going to c-bet on the left with second nut flush draw. We're getting it through, and here we're unfortunately also getting it through with the aces. That's the thing, like if someone decides to put a lot of money in at this stake, it's rarely less than a really nutted hand, unfortunately. So we can either cooler someone or we have to fold them, get them to fold basically, because we're just not going to get paid. This is such a nitty pool, we are not going to get paid. Unless, as I said, it's a cooler. So here I am going to start with a c-bet because we are in position and we can get him to fold a hand like Queen Jack, which would be quite a result. And here now, no reason to bet again after he called. Now we have an open ender as well. And the 4 is not an amazing card. We now lose to a 9, to a 4, and to a straight. And he makes it quite big here. And we have to be good about 40% of the time. We only filtered very small there. There are still plenty of bluffs. He's not the best player. So if he had made it smaller, I would be more confident, but I still think I have to call there. And there we go. He had Queen 3 for absolutely nothing. So I just wonder sometimes why players called that sort of a hand on the flop. Like if we look at that, there is just nothing. I mean, he has some backdoors, but like really not amazing backdoors. Here, ace queen, we are going to put in the 4-bet once the button 3-bets us, and he calls. And here we have a couple of options. I am going to go for a small bet. And he shoves, and when he shoves, like there is nothing, like we don't even beat ace king. He could have a spade draw, but that's likely to also be a pretty good one. Here we are getting 3-bet when there's a cold call. If I had a slightly better hand, I would just jam now, but unfortunately I have to fold, and here I also unfortunately have to fold. And look at this, we would have flopped the nuts. This is annoying. This is very annoying, but what can we do? This is just how we are running today. I called here. Oh yes, he had pocket kings, so it's actually a good thing. Don't want it to be results oriented. I am going to check again here in this limp pot. So with ace 4 suited, I decided to limp behind. But now he bets pot and we are out. Okay, ace 9 off. I am just going to put the 3-bet in here just because we are in position, and it was a cutoff raise from a tight player, admittedly, but sometimes you can get tight players to fold, right? Well, not in this game. In this game, when someone opens, they seem to be willing to 4-bet, and I have to fold my ace 9 once again. Also, there could still be an image thing here, and by that I mean that I had a phase where I tried out to raise every hand that I played, and I think some players might have noticed that, and they still think I'm an absolute maniac, and then now they're exploiting me, because whenever they see me 3-bet, they just assume that I don't have it, and of course I don't have it most of the time, but they would normally not raise there, because the whole point of 3-betting a lot is to get calls and folds, but not to get raises. Because like the only time I want to raise is when I have a really big hand, and that's when I usually don't even get a call. I just get folds all around. 5-3 suited is not good enough to call out of position, unfortunately. Ace king off, however, is good enough to go for the 3-bet. And he just shoves now. I don't really like this one. The thing is, this looks a lot like ace-king, and I don't think it's aces. It could be kings, it could be queens. I mean, at equilibrium, I'll call here, and I call just because it's a stream, but it's kind of like pretty much zero EV to call there. And yeah, that's the thing. He has ace-king as well. And we just lose a lot of rake with this now, unfortunately. And they're just chopping, and the only winner there is Pokerstars. But yeah, normally you should jam there with kings, queens, and ace queen in that spot, but most players will just not jam with kings and queens. They will do it with ace king, so that's why I thought he had a lot of ace king there. Okay, I had to mute myself again, sorry. Here we are with ace queen on this board. That's not amazing, yet I am going to go with a range bet. Getting called, the 6 is not amazing. Getting just checking, and the river is quite nice. And because he checks to us, we are going to bet about 3/4 and hope that we get called, but not this time. Okay, here we start with a check as I usually do out of position. If he bets, then I can go with a check raise, which doesn't happen, which means now I am going to go with an overbet. And I am going to bet the river as well if I miss, because he could still have diamonds when he calls here, or a queen or a jack, and he might fold all of those hands to a river bet if it's a big one. Ace king suited. Let's play this one. 7-6 off, not good enough to call in the big blind. Get a call. This is not exactly a great board for us. I am going to check this time, because I think he could make a lot of mistakes. But he checks back, that's fine. Checks again, that's fine. So now we have not filtered his range at all. He bets half pot. Of course he could have a jack, he could have a 9, he could have pocket 5s, he could have ace deuce, but I'm still going to call because I think there are too many hands that are bluffs in his range. But yeah, he did have the jack this time, but for those pot odds where we have to be good like 27-28% of the time, I am definitely going to call there and look him up. King 9 off, not going to join a multi-way pot for sure. And I think let's make this the last orbit. We can check the result for today, but I know they are not amazing because we just couldn't get anything going in this session. Here again, going to just check because we're giving him rope to do something silly. I mean, when he overbets, that's not great, but he's such an aggressive player, I will have to look him up. And now the 8 is actually a good card. He just shouldn't bet big. I mean, half pot is not that big, but it's okay because he should never have bet with an 8 there pre-flop. Not pre-flop, sorry, on the flop. And he checks, and unfortunately he has king jack. Yeah, well, that is one of the hands that we lose to. And once again, we are just not running great today. Let's have a quick look how bad we are actually running. It's absolutely atrocious. 2.5 big blinds almost. Actually, more than 2.5 big blinds without the all-in equity. And you can see even the red line where I normally attempt to keep it a positive. It was just crazy. I just couldn't get anything going in this session, sadly. So hopefully next time we will do much better. Let's just check. This is the whole challenge that we have, but this is actually not correct because I need to do it with 2NL rather than all of these. 2NL fast. And we are now officially in the minus in our bankroll challenge, unfortunately. Well, this session has been absolutely atrocious, but next time hopefully it will be better. Thanks for watching. Bye.